What is up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Robert Graves bringing you another episode of Year of the Vet. Thank you for tuning back in. If this is your first time tuning in, you're in for a treat because I have Denver Tiger Morris on the show today. And before I get into that, let me just tell you, if you're not a first-time listener, thank you for continuing to come back and listen and listen and listen. And thank you for sharing, and thank you for spreading the word about You're the Vet. It really is an honor to be able to have a significant impact on other people and with no strings attached, right? We all transition out of the service, and we build a type of skepticism because we run into people who want to use us, who want to benefit from us, who want to ride our coattails or use our hard-earned money. And it's a weird place to be, getting out of the service and moving right back into a area that, frankly, we don't yet understand. However, the good news is that because of You're the Vet and because of service officers and because of groups like MVP that Denver works with, we don't have to continue to walk being fearful or skeptical that other people don't really have our best interests in mind. You're the Vet is a platform that has been created to share stories of other service members who have transitioned, who have gone through the ups and downs of transition. Some have gone through extreme downs and some not so much. Transition was smooth. However, there's always a lesson to learn from somebody who's done it before you. And that's why You're the Vet is here. So before I introduce Denver, I want to make sure that you shoot on over to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and like and follow You're the Vet. If you haven't already, shoot on over to wherever you're listening to podcast, subscribe, share, comment, and more importantly, let somebody else know that this platform is out here for them, because it's my intention to lift as many service members up into their own successes in life, which is something that this guest that I have this week knows a lot about. This week, I introduced Denver Morris, who found himself in the role he is today by chance, because he was continuously letting other people down, but more importantly, he was continuously letting himself down. Now, we dive into addiction, we dive into suicide, we dive into the VA's mental institution, we dive into humility, and we dive into the mindset of playing the victim. Despite all the hardships that Denver's experienced, Denver stands today as what I say the face of MVP, which is merging vets and players, an organization here in Los Angeles and now Las Vegas and soon to be San Diego that invites vets as well as former professional athletes into a gym where they go and get their sweat on for an hour, and then they go and have kind of a fireside powwow, so to say. And man, I've been to it twice, and I have seen in the 2 times I've been there how it changes lives. Denver credits 3 things really for his success today. 2 of them being people, 1 of them being an action. The 2 people he credits, Jay Glazer. If you haven't heard of Jay Glazer, you haven't heard of MMA. He also credits Nate Boyer. And me, myself, I've reached out to Nate and said how much of a fanboy I am of his. If you haven't heard Nate's story or don't know who Nate Boyer is, please shoot on over to Michael Gervais' Finding Mastery. I mean, just a super duper phenomenal guy. But the 3rd thing, that action that he credits, is the action of setting 2 goals each day. And I'll let him tell you what those goals are. And before I move into the conversation, I do want to let you know that merging vets and players is expanding, as I said before. And so Denver's call to action for anyone listening today is to shoot on over to vetsandplayers.org and hit that donate today button and give anything you can, $1, $10, $1,000. But the thing is that this program, I have seen work wonders. And if we can get this program across our 50 states and maybe even outside to the vets live in Oconus, I'm convinced that some lives will absolutely change. Look, I had an expectation that this conversation was going to be good, but I legitimately did not know that it was going to be as good as it was. Man, I'm excited to introduce to you Denver Morris. Denver Morris, thank you so much for joining us on Year of the Vet. It's an honor, it's a pleasure, and I'm ready for the Year of the Vet community to learn more about you, learn more about MVP, learn about your journey, and so thank you for joining us.
Man, I appreciate you having me, man. Thank you.
So, I know you from MVP, which is merging vets and players, and we'll tap more into it later, but for those who don't know and are tuning in right now, you've created this organization to bring veteran players.
Yeah, just any type of professional athlete.
Yeah, and you bring them in the same room with vets, and it's funny because we don't consider ourselves as veterans. We don't consider ourselves like stars or superstars. But when we go to MVP, we're treated like superstars from superstars. So it's really cool. It's a really cool environment, man. And I appreciate it. And I can't wait to hear the story about how it started. But before that even gets brought up, why don't you tell us a little bit about who pre-service Denver is?
Well, pre-service, I was a little kid that was not doing too good in high school. So I knew that I needed a beginning. I actually got kicked out of high school myself. I was a star athlete in football, actually. I really enjoyed playing football. And I played for about 9 years, and then I got in trouble for having weed on me at school. So I ended up getting expelled, and I went to a continuation school. So then I was working my butt off to graduate because I knew that if I just got done with school, I could just do whatever I wanted to. Mm-hmm. So we actually started school later, so I just pretty much slept all day, and then I had about 9 credits left or so. So I stopped going to school completely. And so I ended up having a teacher that called me up saying, hey, you need to show up. And I said, I'm joining the Marine Corps. Told her straight up, I'm going to go join the Marine Corps. I don't need the school. I'm fine. I'll graduate when I graduate. Don't worry about me. I'm fine. So I was that 17-year-old kid that just, had a vision on what I wanted to do already.
So then, why the Marine Corps?
Why the Marine Corps? My grandpa actually was passing away when I was in 7th grade, and I remember I came home from a church retreat, and he was a stocky guy, and I came home from this church retreat, and I looked at him, and he was literally a skeleton, but just with skin on his skeleton, and I was scared to talk to him. I'll never forget it. I was scared to talk to him because it just was not my grandpa. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even think that he could talk or anything. And he finally leaned over, and it was the first time that he's actually leaned over in about a week. And he leaned over and he looked at me. He said, Tiger, if you're going to do anything, and if you can do anything, I was in the Army, and I'd like you to join the Marine Corps, because a man that joins the Marine Corps can take care of their family. He becomes a man when he joins the Marine Corps. So that was all the way since I was in 7th grade, and I sat there and I said, I know what I'm going to do, Mom. So not knowing that there was going to become a war, not knowing, my right hand to my left hand for the most part. And he told me, if you want to be able to take care of a family, and if you want to learn some good traits, join the Marine Corps. And he used to call me Tiger. So he said, Tiger, I was in the Army, but the Army didn't make me into a man. If I joined the Marine Corps, that would have made me into a man. Sorry for all the Army guys out there.
Well, I mean, wisdom, we can't argue with the elderly, the wise. Mm-hmm. So,
exactly.
It's funny because if it had been 2016 and you would have gotten caught with weed on you, there's no way you'd been expelled.
No, definitely not.
It's a different time.
It was a learning experience. Let's just say that. And I was actually in summer school when I did it, and so they put on an acting principal, and it happened to be my football coach at that actually caught me. So that was the year off the football team, and I went into my junior year saying, hey, what's my schedule? And they said, no, you're expelled. You're not coming back to this school. So it was kind of a bummer.
So you're expelled. You kind of go do your own thing. At 17, you remember, the words that your grandpa told you, and you enlisted at 17?
No. I actually moved out of my parents' house. My mom actually told me on it was my 17th birthday, or maybe a week after my 17th birthday. She kicked my bed and she said, "Get up, go do something, go get a job. I'm tired of you staying here." And I said, "I'm joining the Marine Corps, Mom." "What?" And she said, "I don't see you in the Marine Corps now. Go. Get up. Let's go. Get up and do something." And I looked at her, and literally I leaned over, and I had a house phone in my room, and I grabbed that house phone, and I called the recruiter that day. And so ever since that day, the recruiter was kind of talking to me every single week, and I was still that little kid that just said, "I don't need the recruiter, I don't need this person, I don't need anybody." But that's also been my personality for the most part all my life.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a very, very independent. Like, if you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to do it 3 times better.
So when did you pick up the phone? What year was that?
That was 2004.
Did you have any reserve, like, inside, knowing that the war was kind of full blown at that point?
Not really, to be honest with you. I was still doing everything that I was not supposed to be doing. I was still going out, and I think my mom ended up giving me an allowance to go to school. That's how kind of bad I was. So, I mean, I was kind of that kid that just kind of did not care for the most part. Just had a vision and knew that I was going to reach that vision.
Are you from California?
I am from California, so I'm from a town called Orchid, California. It's in the Central Coast.
Okay. Oh, so there's not really a lot to do out there anyway, right?
No, definitely not.
Yeah, I can see how easy it is to get in trouble out there. So 2007 or 2004 comes around, you step on the Yellow Footprints.
2005, I actually joined the Yellow Footprints 2 months after I turned 18.
I asked the question about the war, like knowing about it, because I joined September 11th, 2000, right? A whole year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I'll sit down sometimes and I'll think to myself, like, would I have joined if I knew there was a war? And I mean, I still stayed in 9 years later, but it's just one of those questions. So it runs my curiosity, to say the least. So
I remember the recruiter telling me, the one thing that you are going to join is the infantry. I remember that, and he said, "Look, you get to go do what you get trained to do."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yes, I get to shoot guns. I get to shoot people." That's what I was thinking in my head.
At least he was honest with you. Yours was honest with you.
Oh, yeah, he definitely was honest.
So how long did you stay in?
I was only in for 4 years, but during that time I did do 2 tours, one to Iraq and one to Afghanistan.
Yeah. Near the end of your, quote, career, or close to
it? It was literally right in the middle of it. So
yeah.
I joined in 2005, and then I went to Iraq in 2007. I was stateside for 7 months, and then I went back to Afghanistan for 8 months. So I did 7, 7, 8.
So on the downtime, right? You had a lot of downtime before you transitioned out. Yeah. On that downtime before your transition, what was that like?
Oh, well, there's a thing called being a boot in the Marine Corps.
What?
And, yeah, I know, right? I was kind of a shitbag. I guess that's the best words to say it.
Well, Terminal Lance?
What's that?
Terminal Lance?
Yeah, I was that Terminal Lance that kind of just always got in trouble. I actually would drive home every single weekend from 29 Palms. So I was stationed in 29 Palms.
Yeah.
I would just drive home every weekend, drink every weekend, get a new hotel room every weekend, and just have fun.
Yeah.
Basically. But I would take guys from the base. So I would take a new group of guys back home with me that couldn't be back home.
Yeah.
That's kind of my personality, is I love integrating everybody all together, bringing people into my family. You know, and that's kind of my personality in a way, is kind of introducing my friends to my family, to my parents, to, you know, my siblings, to everybody. And I like gathering a lot of people around. That was a huge thing growing up for me, was a lot of family gatherings. So I would always drive people every single week down into my hometown.
Yeah.
So
I was similar when I was 29 Palms too, for I think a total of 3.5 years, something like that.
Oh yeah.
But because I'm from LA, therefore everybody wants to see LA. So I was the tour guide literally. I was in Hollywood all the time, Santa Monica all the time, and the same thing with sleeping at my mom's house on the couch. So I completely understand that, which speaks volumes, because just hearing you say that, I understand now more the background of MVP, right? So, were you also kind of, I don't want to say the alpha, but were you the big brother of your troop?
You know, I've always been kind of that leader, but I'm a quiet leader.
Okay. What do you mean by that?
I'm kind of the one that wants to stay behind closed doors when it comes to leading people, because I'm always that guy that I don't want to mess up. Gotcha. And if I mess up, the eyes are on me. So I'm kind of that quiet leader, kind of like, hey, let's go, but don't say anything to anybody. Let's all gather around all together, but let's just keep it mellow. Let's keep it cool, and then once we're there, we can keep it however we want. Yeah. So I'm kind of the quiet leader. I kind of try to stay behind closed doors.
What happens when you mess up? Like, what do you go through?
I mean, myself, I like personally, or just like, personally, I just get really down on myself. Yeah. I really, in a way, I'm a perfectionist, and in a way, I'm not. So, I get really just kind of, I guess the best word is to say insecure. Okay. I get insecure when I mess up. I don't know if it's an extreme mess up, or if it's you just messed up, don't worry about it. Even when it's like that, I get very like, oh man, I messed up. Oh, dang it, man, my bad. So, and I have to apologize. I'm also a Cancer. So, birthday's in June. Actually, tomorrow's my birthday. So, nice. Like my girlfriend says, I'm a sour patch, basically. So,
happy birthday.
That's exactly how she explains me.
Okay. So at this point, you're winding down your career. How are you approaching your transition?
I was kind of done after the two wars. I was done. I just wanted to go home. Yeah. But I wanted to live like I was in high school all over again. Yeah. So, I wanted to just go out and still party. I wanted to go have fun. I wanted to still not grow up, basically. So they did the transition for the TAPS, and I had already that vision that I was going to drive to New Jersey when I got out of the Marine Corps.
What's in New Jersey?
So, what's that?
What's in New Jersey?
Well, I met a girl about 6 months right before that. So, we were dating, we were in love, all that good stuff. And I said, hey, really don't want to go back with mom and dad, because now I'm going to have a curfew. Now I'm going to have to act like I'm back in high school kind of thing. Yeah. So what am I going to do different? Okay, you know what? I can go to college, quotation marks, live this life in college, have fun in the dorms like I'm having fun in the barracks. And guess what? I get to go hang out with like-minded people. Yeah. So I moved out to New Jersey, which it was probably one of the funnest but bad times of my life. So
now, when you got there, because the mindset was that you're going to get out to Jersey and be around like-minded people, how true was that?
Well, the first day that I got out there, the girl broke up with me. Literally. So now I have my dog, I got my Jeep, and I got no home, no nothing. So I was already now like, what am I going to do? So, I kind of sat there and I just started I got a job at Buffalo Wild Wings while I was out in Jersey.
Yeah.
And I just started having fun, hanging out with people, trying to find the people that wanted to go out and have a drink or go out and just go have fun.
Yeah.
Basically. So that was kind of my way of kind of saying, hey, let's go have fun and every night. And then it turned into, hey, I'll work one night and we can get a keg for tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then I realized that, maybe 6 months into it or so, I'd say about 7-8 months into it, somebody called me a name. I didn't like it very much, and I pushed them through a window. And next thing you know, nobody wanted to be around me.
Oh.
Nobody. And I was kind of like, what's wrong? And they all said, dude, do you even realize what you just did? Your anger just got the best of you. And I said, that's normal. That's what we do in the Marine Corps. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's alive,
he called
right?
me a name. I had to go handle it. And they said, no, man, that's not cool. And I didn't realize the effect of it was. And now I'm walking into work, and now people are turning their back on me.
Huh.
Now I'm feeling uncomfortable. Now I'm feeling that word insecure.
Yeah.
So right then, it took me about another month. Even the place that I was living at, the guy was my same age, and he said, look, man, you got to get out of here. I'm sorry, you can't be living here anymore.
Mm.
So now all of a sudden, I'm right back where I was. So I got up and tried calling my mom and dad, and they said, no, you can't come here. And I said, all right, well, then I ended up finding one of my buddies, and he lived in Santa Barbara. So next thing you know, I'm still thinking, hey, I can still go out and party in Santa Barbara now.
Yeah.
So I ended up moving to Santa Barbara.
So kind of reflecting, right? Reflecting back on that, what is that, like 2008 Denver, 2009?
Well, I got out in 2009,
Yeah.
so that was 2010.
Yeah. So reflecting back like 7 years ago, right? And I mean, you've done an astronomical amount of growing between then and now. Looking back at it, can you see where they're coming from? Or how do you ask this? Can you rationalize, can you justify that, cause I understand, man, like when you get out, I took 3 months off. I was like, I'm going to do whatever the hell I want, man. Smoke some weed, go drink and party all night. And then, your friends start having to go to work and you're by yourself and, you're starting to get in trouble by yourself or, looking for things to do and you get a little bored and rambunctious. And so I understand that whole process in and out, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, now fucking 7 years later, I can reflect and be like, okay, I understand what they're talking about, but I was still a young guy, right? So do you credit a lot of that behavior to just being a young guy, or do you actually believe and buy into like it's because we're Marines and this is what we do? Because I'm a little on the fence.
I'm going to always say this, and this is exactly what Jay Glazer always says. He says, own up to it. Be proud of it. We are different.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say that. I am different, and I'm proud to be different.
Yeah.
As a veteran, it's not that they trained us into becoming a man. They trained us into, being able to be away from mom and dad for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Not having somebody hold your hand. And at the same time, I didn't realize it, but the Marine Corps was holding my hand while I was in. They paid for my food. They paid for my housing. They paid for my electric bills. They paid for my water. They paid for my trash. They paid for everything.
That's interesting.
And they told me what time I need to wake up. They told me what time I need to eat. They gave me a schedule.
Yeah.
So, I think a lot of it is too, I have another veteran, Cody, that has said it. It's like starting kindergarten all over again.
Man.
Getting out of the military.
Yeah.
However, you don't get placed with the people, when you were in elementary school, they placed you with your last name. Mm-hmm. So my best friend became Martinez, because my last name is Morris. I sat next to Eric Martinez growing up. He's still my best friend to this day.
Yeah.
You know, and now it's, okay, you're on your own. Now you get to go find who you are.
Yeah.
Good luck. Have fun. Go find what you're good at.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have your mom or your dad explain to you, hey, you're really good at this. This is maybe some of the college courses that you need to take. You don't have somebody saying, do your homework. You don't have somebody, you know, telling you what to do anymore. So going straight from high school, going straight into the military, and then going straight into, oh, man, I'm on my own. I got nobody telling me how to live my life.
Yeah.
Anything. So a lot of it, I think, I don't blame it on the military. I don't blame it on the family. I don't blame it on anything. A lot of it, I think, is finding out your self-worth, trying to find your identity. And I think that was the hard part with the military, is they don't help you find your identity.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense.
You know, they put you into the into the infantry, and then next thing you know, you get out and you're excited to put that on your resume, for instance, infantry. Now you're going and looking for a job, and they're saying, oh, my God, you suffer from PTSD. I can't hire you.
Yeah.
Automatically, before they even give you a chance.
Yeah.
They say, well, what trade do you have? So I think that was the hard part, was trying to apply myself.
So how would you recommend a vet that's getting out to go through the process of finding their identity?
I mean, that personally, I can't really recommend that. I think that they should just find all the resources that they can.
Yeah.
To find what they're good at.
Yeah.
And you know, for instance, merging vets and players, that's what I found that I was good at when I walked into the doors. I could relate with veterans.
Yeah.
I was around like-minded people, and at the same time, there was no rules. You can say what you want to say, and you're not going to get in trouble for it. Yeah. So it feels like you're back in the barracks kind of thing.
So, okay, what happened in Santa Barbara?
Santa Barbara. I got a job at Forever 21. Yeah. You know, so I didn't apply myself. I was going to college, and I was taking the GED class, or not the GED, but the general ed classes, and I was in it for the GI Bill. I wanted to get that GI Bill. I wanted to go and have fun. Yeah. You know, going to Isla Vista almost every weekend, going out to the bars every weekend, and just I didn't apply myself. Yeah. I knew in the back of my head that I was better than Forever 21. However, I didn't. I had this pregnant woman come up to me one day at Forever 21, and she said, "You're going to clock out for your lunch. You're going to go get me McDonald's. You're going to come back, bring me McDonald's. I'm going to clock out for my lunch, and then you're going to clock yourself back in." And I looked at her. I said, "Excuse me?" And she said, "Did you not hear me? Do you want me to repeat myself?" Oh. And right then I looked at her, and I was already working in the stock room with no AC, down in this dungeon, literally. And I sat there and I said, "I'm done." And I looked at her. I laughed at her. I said, "You don't even know who I am. Yeah. And I am worth more than this. Yeah. And I promise you right now, I'm worth better and more than this. I don't want to do this for the rest of my life." And I literally got up and I walked out of there. Even though I needed that job and I needed that $8 an hour right there. Yeah. But at the same time, I walked out. I said, "I'm better than this." Yeah. And, you know, I ended up getting a little bit better job, not a, you know, great job. At the same time, it was part-time, and you can only work a certain amount of hours throughout the year. But what I did was I worked 40 hours a week. I was working, and I was going to try to just start stacking up money, trying to get a better life for myself.
So you had actually flipped the switch at that moment, and you're like, "I'm better than this." Did.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Okay. And then it kind of all just kind of backfired. I was doing really good, and the next thing you know, I got addicted to cocaine out there.
Yeah.
I got introduced to cocaine about a year into Santa Barbara. I got introduced to cocaine, never seen cocaine in my life, and I fell in love with cocaine. So if I was having one beer, I would now need to go get cocaine.
Yeah.
And that's how it turned into, was literally almost every single night, every other night, I was now getting cocaine, and I said, I love this stuff.
Yeah.
It makes me not feel. And now I'm in Santa Barbara, and I'm able to now open up to everybody, talk about whatever I wanted to talk about. Now people are getting afraid of me again. So I actually attempted suicide out there.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I had no idea about the VA at this point.
Wait. So pause.
Okay.
I want you to talk about, right? Because not everybody gets into this, and I know you're able to.
Okay.
What are you going through at that moment before attempting suicide?
I was going through a lot of depression. Not feeling worthy. There's one thing that I've been hearing lately that's actually resonated with me is I was once a hero. Now I'm a nobody.
Whoa.
Not finding identity. You know, it's coming up again. I couldn't find who I was, but I was struggling trying to find that person. I was trying, and no matter how hard I tried, I could not find that person.
Yeah.
I was lonely. I was scared. I was, I was alone, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that was my best way of doing it, was trying to say, you know what, I can't be here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that was right around the time where, my unit, we lost a lot of guys to suicide. So it started seeming like it was normal. I guess that's the best way of saying it.
Yeah.
And, to the guys that did pass away, I feel what they felt. When they attempted their suicide and they were successful. I understand it, because they feeling lonely. Just, you were once a hero, now you're not that hero anymore. Now you're walking down the street, and now you're just a normal person.
So hold on to that one statement, right? Because I, in my role in the world, I've kind of realized that everybody there's one moment in everybody's life that just completely alters the good to the bad, if that makes sense. And I just had a conversation with a student and a frat brother, actually, where she said, and I'm saying it's a co-ed frat, but she said that similar. She got out and she was this hard charger, and she gets out and then she's just this nobody. And I've come to learn that it's always, and not always, but a great amount of the time, it's one person who says one sentence and then it just fucks you up for the rest of however long it takes you to get out of that funk. Because I went through something similar where my boss was like, "Hey man, you're not in the Marine Corps anymore," and for the next 6 years, I was just this. I don't.
It's kind of funny that you're actually saying that, because my dad actually told me a statement. Actually, during this time in Santa Barbara, he said a statement saying, "Son, I got to tell you something," and this was after I attempted everything. Yeah. And he told me something, and it's still to this day, I say it out loud all the time. He said, "Look, as of right now, I don't know what it was like overseas. So you can tell me all you want, and I'm not going to understand it. I can maybe listen, but I'm not going to understand it. I'm not going to be able to give you feedback. However, at the same time, you don't know as of right now what it's like to say goodbye to their son to go overseas." Mm-hmm. And that's when I sat there and I was like, wow. Mm-hmm. And I still say that comment all the time. Mm-hmm. Say that to a lot of people that, we can play the victim. That's a great word too that I like saying. We can play the victim all we want. At the same time, a lot of people don't understand how we feel. I don't know how they feel. I'm not inside their body, so.
Yeah, man, your dad's pretty on point with that,
Yeah.
And I said it yesterday. I told a friend yesterday, man, I can't judge you. I can't judge you because, who am I to judge? I've done all kinds of crazy shit that should have never happened. But, you can't judge a person until you've been in their shoes or understand from their element.
Exactly.
But, I mean, so this person's coming at you and they're like, you were once a hero. And that, I can see how that can trigger somebody to be like, what? Where am I? Who am I?
Exactly. I mean, I think that's the hard part too. Is once coming home. I mean, for instance, I remember coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan, and we flew into Maine, and there's all these people that are cheering and smiling and laughing and giving us hugs and this and that, and I'm feeling on cloud nine at that point. And I know, for instance, myself, whenever I see, videos of a veteran or something like that in the middle of a baseball field and getting an award or anything like that, I get choked up because it makes me remember I was once that person.
Mm-hmm.
I was once getting like cheers and excitement, and I was once that person, and it feels good. I mean, not especially for a veteran, but for anybody to be recognized.
Yeah.
So.
Chills. Okay, so you're in Santa Barbara, and you're just having seriously a shitty fucking time transitioning from New Jersey, Santa Barbara. People are scared of you, and rightly so, because they just don't understand us, right? And we've heard all the remarks from people, and we've seen all the movies. I mean, so there's a stigma on Marines, and so it's even harder for us to come back as Marines, let alone like those guys from the Army and the Navy. So it's like a double-edged sword. What happens now, man? Like, I don't want to say you failed an attempt more than I want to say you were given a second chance. You're given a second chance at life. What happens now?
I actually, I stood on a bridge, and next thing you know, there was a off-duty officer that actually found me on the bridge. And I ended up socking him as I was standing on the bridge. Thankfully, I did not get in trouble for that. Yeah. But he was trying to grab me off, and, they ended up calling everybody, closing down the freeway, everything, and they ended up grabbing me and pulling me off the bridge. And I had no idea what the VA was. I had no idea that there was even a VA out there. Mm-hmm. And they told me, you're going to the psych ward. And I said, why? Like, why do I want to go there? No, I want to go home. I want to go spend time with, my girlfriend at the time, and I want to go home. They said, no, you're not going home. Yeah. So they ended up putting me in an ambulance, driving me to the West LA VA, and I sat in the West LA VA. And they sat there and they said, look, you're not going home. I can tell you that much. So they ended up putting me on a 14-day hold until I agreed to go to treatment. Mm-hmm. Finally, I agreed to go to treatment, but during that 14 days, my landlord in Santa Barbara grabbed all my stuff out of my home and threw it onto the curb.
Oh, my God.
So now I'm in, I'm not making money. I'm in L.A. This is all a new beginning for me. And I sat there and I said, what the hell am I going to do? And they said, either treatment or you're not leaving, period. And I said, okay, I'll go to treatment. So I ended up going to treatment, and I sat there in treatment, and I said, this isn't so bad, So I sat in treatment for 3 months, and then after 3 months, I was still not making money. I couldn't work while I was there, so I was still broke, and I ended up finding I could only stay there for 3 months. So I ended up finding the Hollywood VOA. and that was a homeless shelter for Iraq and Afghanistan veterans.
Okay.
I had no idea that this was even there.
Yeah, me neither.
No idea. So I ended up going into this place, and I stayed there for 9 months total, and I enjoyed it. I had fun. I literally had fun. And
this is your first time around vets being dropped off?
It was my first time. I literally cut off all my guys for 6-7 years.
Okay.
I did not want to talk to anybody from what I was doing.
Yeah.
I don't.
Is that out of shame, or is it just what was that?
It was just let's just all keep our distance. Yeah. Let's just go live our lives, and let's just go do what we got to do.
Gotcha.
We don't need to talk about what happened. We don't need to talk about and that's kind of how it was. Whenever we linked up, it wasn't what are we doing now. It was always talking about what we did while we were in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
So it was more of I don't even want to hang out with these guys.
Yeah.
So now I'm surrounded by a bunch of guys that at the Hollywood VOA, and I just was like, wow, this is kind of fun. I get to be around people that understand me now. They're not judging me, and this is cool. I enjoy this. And then I got Service Connected. I didn't put in for my Service Connect, but somebody put in for my Service Connect for me.
Yeah.
And I still had no idea about Service Connect.
It's probably a good thing you didn't at the time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So that even then, I sat there and I ended up getting this large amounts of money. One of the highest back pays that there has been actually still to this day. And I literally 2 days later I went and bought a truck. I went and just blew money. I think I was out of $60,000 within a week. It was literally giving money to a homeless person.
Yeah.
That's really what it was kind of like hitting the lottery at that point. Ended up moving out of the place, out of the homeless shelter, and getting my own 2-bedroom. I didn't care about the security deposit. I didn't care about anything. I just said, yep. Mm-hmm. I didn't put into consideration on how much my rent would be, how much this would be, how much, and everything was adding up. And I didn't realize that I was paying more than what my disability was.
Yeah.
And at that point, I didn't understand it. I was like, cool, it's just money.
Yeah.
Let's go spoil all my friends. Let's go move people in. Let's, back and forth. And then money started disappearing. It just started going away and going away. And I was like, where's all my money going? And I didn't realize that, 3/4 of it was going towards rent. Everything was just disappearing.
Yep.
So I ended up losing that identity again, but I thought I was having an identity thinking that everything was fine because now I had friends.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize that the friends that I was having were not the legitimate friends that I needed.
Okay. Vets or civilians? These new friends?
Vets.
Okay. So you're surrounded around vets now who are taking advantage of you.
Exactly.
Okay. So it's a fucking lose-lose.
I didn't understand it, but I was just trying to buy their happiness, basically.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So I ended up, I stayed in my place for a good 2 years, and I was able to afford it for 2 years, and the next thing you know, I get negative in my account, and now I just start getting depressed all over again. And so now I started going back into that same routine that I was in Santa Barbara. And finally sat there and I said, you know what? I'm done. I jumped in my truck and I took off. And I ended up overdosing on pills and cocaine and alcohol, and I was driving down the road, and thankfully that there was 2 surfers. I ended up driving from Los Angeles to Santa Barbara, and all I was trying to do was get to my sister. Mm-hmm. And I ended up passing out, and thankfully that there was 2 surfers that ended up finding me. And so They took me to the hospital. They finally got me back, and the hospital let me stay there for literally I'd say 27 hours. 27 hours, literally. And I said, what the heck is going on? How are they releasing me right now? How do they do that? Mm-hmm. But I manipulated my way to get out of the hospital.
Gotcha.
And then that was the moment that I honestly sat there and I said, I definitely need a new beginning. Yeah. This is ridiculous. Yeah. And I finally, for once in my life, sat there and said, I was on the phone with my sister, and my sister was just scared shitless. There was no words that can explain how scared my sister was. And, she was calling the doctors. And I was like, don't listen to my sister. Give me my phone. And which my sister, she was looking out for me, and I didn't understand that. Yeah. She said, keep his phone. Do not let him get on his phone, because he will get out of there. Some way, somehow, he will get out of there. Yeah. And she was right. She was definitely right. So, my sister was like, okay. I ended up going back home, and I reflected for a couple days. And I sat there, and they said, and my sister kept calling me saying, okay, I need the name of your doctor, this, that. And I was like, yes, sister, I'm going to get help, this, that. And this was actually December 12th of 2015 now. Okay. So this is like just, I need a new beginning, and that's all I was thinking about was kind of, I need something that's going to happen. So I sat there and I said, I'm breaking my lease to my home, and I'm getting out. I'm done. I need a new beginning. So I ended up, because I had such a great time in a new beginning over at the Hollywood VOA, I said, I need to pack up all my stuff, and I need to get back over to the Hollywood VOA. Yeah. I need a new beginning. I need to start all over again. So, and then February, so I was still at that house, my apartment, for about 2 months until I got into the Hollywood VOA again. And I finally got back in, and that's literally when my life changed in a 360 from always feeling and always playing the victim to just, all right, I can do this. I am worth something. I'm going to be worth something. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of the beginning part. That's where I actually met Nate Boyer. And
okay, before you get in there, did you believe it the first time you said it?
As in, like, right after, in December?
So I need a new beginning, right? It's kind of, I'm taking notes. So,
no, you're good.
I see a trend of 30s, right? And I wrote down third time's a charm. And you went from Jersey, Santa Barbara, then you were dropped off in L.A. You're still here in L.A. You, for life, right? You were given birth. Then you've given a second chance after the bridge, and then the surfers. That's threes. But you're in this kind of mindset of, man, I recognize that I am not who I am meant to be, who I want to be, who I feel like I should be. I need to change. And you're saying this again in 2015, but you've been saying this a few times. Each time you said that, was it a different feeling? Did you believe it more in 2015 than you did in 2012? You know what I mean? Like,
I think in the 2015 it was actually my choice.
Gotcha.
It wasn't my choice back in 2012. It wasn't my choice back in Jersey. It wasn't, to get a new beginning. It was kind of forced on me. Mm-hmm. And like I've said earlier, I'm very independent. I'm an independent person that likes doing things on my own. I don't like being told to do stuff. Believe it or not, that's one of the things that I don't like being told to do things. Yeah. And that's the hard part is I like to prove that I can do things, I guess you can say. Yeah. So I think in 2015, that's when I sat there and I said, and that's why I was kind of, to my sister, was kind of like, don't tell me what to do. You're not my mom. Just let me do this. Yeah. So that's why I think back in 2015, I sat there and I said, all right, I'm cutting my lease. I'm going to sell my truck. I'm going to go into this house. Why? Because I need that new beginning. I need to be humble.
Yeah.
And it's not somebody telling me that I need to be humble. It's myself that's telling myself that I need to be humble. So in 2015, I think that's when it was kind of like, okay, I just blew through all this cash. I just did exactly what I did. This is now I'm pushing family away. I'm pushing friends away. But instead, I want to hold on to these people. I want to gain their trust. And I think that's where it was different, was I really did want that beginning all over again.
Gotcha. So you started talking about this is when you met Nate and Jay. So so this is a whole new chapter of your life. You know,
a whole new chapter, literally.
Whole new life. And to prep this, right, to prep this whole piece, congratulations, man. You know, like, I know you've never listened to the show. I think like 7 people have listened to the show, but you know, I'd never like stop and say like, hey man, congrats on where you're at, because, you know, it's all I can do is just sit down and applaud you, because man, where you're at today, it's mountains. You've moved mountains. How did you get there? You went to VOA again, Hollywood VOA. You changed this whole perception. You said, I'm going to start letting people in. Now, what's the path to where you're at today?
I actually asked for help. That was like I said, going into this home for the second time, it was my choice to go into this home. It wasn't me being forced to. And when I walked into those doors, it was very humbling. I went from a 2-bedroom apartment with my dog, with, you know, having everything that I wanted to saying, I'm done with this apartment. I need to get a new beginning. So, you know, I finally, it's actually funny because Nate actually, it was literally a week or 2 into me being at this house. But my way, like I said before, is gathering people around and doing things with other people. So, you know, I asked a couple guys to go on a hike with me the day I met Nate. And they said, yeah, sure. So we walked from the Hollywood VOA up to the Hollywood sign. It turned into about a 14 or 15-mile hike. Mm-hmm. That's long for somebody that doesn't work out, you know. So I sat there. I went on this hike. I had my dog with me there, and it was a beautiful hike. And then, you know, I feel safe at this homeless shelter. I feel safe in this place. And I walk back into this place, and next thing you know, I see cameras everywhere. And I'm like covering my face, like, what are you doing? What are you doing in my home? And I'm just giving this guy a look, and I have no idea who Nate Boyer is at this moment. Uh-huh. And I'm giving this guy this look, like, get the fuck out of here. Like, please. And he's trying to have a full-on conversation with me. I just get back from this 14-mile hike. Yeah. And I'm just looking at this guy like, dude, if you don't get out of my face right now, I'm going to probably sock you, and I'm going to probably push these camera guys out of here. And then this guy's like trying to have a nice conversation with me. Yeah. It just wasn't happening. So I ended up taking off, going and taking a shower in my room and just kind of being by myself. I come back out, and he's like walking through the hallways at this point with these cameras. And I'm like, okay, this isn't a show right now. And I was just I was getting angry because I started getting protective over, you know, all my guys in the house. And all I was thinking in my head was, why are you going to take pictures of guys that are struggling right now? Yeah. Why? Why would you do that? And that's all I was thinking in my head. And then he finally left. And about 2 days later, one of the guys that was at the house, he posted on Facebook of who Nate Boyer was. And I sat there and I was like, oh my God, I feel like an idiot right now. Mm-hmm. Because I realized who Nate Boyer was. Yeah. And I didn't realize that he was doing a piece on merging vets and players, and he was basically trying to recruit. Gotcha. And So I sat there and I Googled this guy. I read up a little bit about him and finally found a website for him. And I sat there and I was like, it's a long shot, but I'm going to send him an email and say, hey, how did you get to where you are? I need help. And it was that first moment that I just asked somebody, help me. I need help to figure out where you are in your life and how you got there. Mm-hmm. And I want the guidance. And that's basically what I told him in about 2 or 3 sentences, because I honestly thought it was a long shot. I did not think that he would reply back. I did not think anything. I thought it was just going to be one of those emails that are just thrown away kind of thing. And literally within an hour, he replied back and he said, hey, brother, I'm sorry for the cameras, this, that. I would love to sit down for lunch. When are you free? And I was like, whoa, he wants to hang out with me?
Yeah.
That's all I was thinking in my head was, what do I say to this guy? I hated him 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So, and that was kind of the moment once he said, hey, let's go do lunch. That was the moment that I said, I can't screw this up. I can't let anybody else down in my life. I can't let anybody else down. I want to pick his brain, and I want to be somebody. Yeah. I want to be worth something all over again. This guy went from being an Army, Green Beret, into playing in the NFL, something that I always dreamed of.
Yeah.
Growing up, everybody was saying, you can play in the NFL, you can do it, you're good enough to do it. And instead, I didn't, I really didn't apply myself growing up to do it. I got in trouble and, this and that. So I saw this guy that was kind of living my dream, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
And it's funny because the other side of social media with Nate Boyer, I have a similar story because I listened to a podcast called Finding Mastery with Michael Gervais and Nate, and I heard Nate, it was a 2-parter, and Nate's talking about, being this blue collar kid and, just growing up with this wholesome background and, joining the Army, Green Beret, then now he's sneaking on the planes to like Uganda or wherever, sitting down, eating what they're eating and not what the service people are eating. And it's like, man, this guy's story is so crazy. And I reached out to him on Twitter. I was like, man, I would love to shake your hand. And, that's all I wrote. And again, not thinking that, I would get a reply, not thinking nothing. You never get responses on social media. And 30 minutes later, hey, Bubba, why don't you come over to MVP? I was like, yeah. And I didn't even know what MVP was at the time. I was like, yeah, man, like, sure thing. It's an honor. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'll see you there. And that's how I learned about you guys, man. Like, I showed up. I mean, Nate wasn't there. But, just the mindset of that we put our own limitations on ourselves, and I've learned that. But, yeah, it was similar. I reached out to Nate on a long shot, man. And that's how I met you guys. So.
Yeah, no, that was the cool part was honestly we sat down for lunch and I was a part of this other veteran organization and it didn't work out between merging vets and players in that organization, which I realized that the organization that I was a part of, they were really trying to just it's a long story, basically. But it just did not work out. But Nate sat there and said, look, we've been trying to get this program off the ground for the longest time. We've had 1 or 2 sessions, and, we have these athletes, but we're struggling to get these veterans in there. And I sat there and I looked at him and I said, I can bring 8 this Thursday. No problem whatsoever. And he looked at me, he's like, no, you can't. And it was kind of that look like, all right, I'll see if I believe it. And that's when he told me, we ended up exchanging numbers that day instead of emails. And next thing you know, he sat there and he said, okay, so you're going to go into this gym not knowing what type of gym it was in the first place.
Yeah.
And he said, you're going to go talk to Jay Glazer. I'm sure you know who Jay Glazer is. I was like, looking at him kind of like, not really. I don't know who this guy is. He said, okay, well, he's a short little 5'6", bald-headed dude. I was like, all right. So I walk into this gym, and I tell everybody that I was with, hold on, wait out here. I have to go talk to this guy. So I walk into the gym, and you got everybody in there, and I'm like, oh. So I'm like shaking at this point with no confidence. Remember, this is when I'm no confidence still in myself.
Yeah.
And I said, I had no confidence whatsoever. And they were like, oh, go down. He's right down there. Like it was nothing. Like they had no idea who I was. Yeah. They said, oh, he's right down there. I walked down, and there's Jay Glazer, and he's looking at me. He's like, hey, what's up, man? Like it was like we've known each other for years.
Yeah.
And I was shaking. I was literally shaking when I saw him, and I shook his hand, and he was sitting down, just relaxed. And next thing you know, I start going into my story for about a half an hour, and he's just looking at me, eyes wide, kind of like, who is this guy? Mm-hmm. And it was just, from that moment, it was just kind of like, I love this. This is exciting. And then I go up, and there's a couple NFL players in there. There's couple of UFC fighters in there, Randy Couture's in there, and I'm like, where am I? Yeah. What am I doing? Are you serious right now? This is my dream.
Yeah.
And all these people are coming up to me and saying, thank you. And I'm over there saying, no, thank you. Mm-hmm. I appreciate everything that I've learned from you. They're like, no, stop. You're my hero. And I'm like, no, you're my hero. So we kind of went back and forth a little bit on it, kind of thing. So that was kind of the moment that I felt like I was worth something.
Yeah.
And that was that moment that I was just like, I am worth it, aren't I?
So what is MVP?
MVP is merging veterans with professional athletes. So basically what we are is we bring the veterans together, and we bring the professional athletes together. Little do we know that the professional athletes are struggling. As they get out of something, they lose their identity just like the veterans lose their identity. So what we're doing is we sit down for an hour, we work out for an hour, but it's not a tough workout. Let's put it that way, because a lot of people get a little afraid when we say workout, especially myself. I'm not a big workout guy myself. So we link up once a week, which is amazing because a lot of programs don't link up once a week. They maybe link up once a month or something like that. So we work out once a week in two different areas, Las Vegas and Los Angeles. We sit down 2 p.m. every Thursday. We work out for an hour, and then we sit down and we just have a fireside chat. You can talk about whatever you want. We're not going to pull out that purple book and say, here's the rules. Do not say this. Do not say that. We encourage people to talk about it. We encourage people to say whatever you want to say, because we're not doing therapy. We're not, it's more of peer-to-peer. It's more like being back in the barracks. If somebody is messing up during the week, hey, what's going on? What can we do to help you out? And I think that's the biggest part where it comes finding your identity, is saying, what can we help you with?
Yeah.
You're saying all this. You're saying that you want to not come to MVP because you want to isolate yourself. Awesome. I feel isolation all the time. There's 3/4 of the time I don't want to get up to go to the gym. I'm 2 hours away from the gym. But I still get up and I go. Why? Because I know what it's going to do for me. I know at the end of the day it's going to empower myself. I'm going to come home and I'm going to say, babe, let's go play mini golf. And let's have a family day or whatever it may be. So it's kind of that safe environment just to talk about whatever you want to talk about. Yeah. It's safe to say that you're feeling depressed.
Yeah.
You're okay to say that you're feeling depressed. It's okay. We're not going to judge you. We're not going to say, no, I got to call somebody. Yeah. No,
Well, if anything, and that's my experience, and I've only been twice. But my experience is that not only are these individuals, both the players and the vets, coming in and talking about, hey man, and it's not all of it's like depression, right? Some of it's like, hey man, in fact, I just ran into the female, she works at the VA, that's like super pregnant.
Mika.
Yeah. I just saw her a couple of days ago, and I met her first when she first got pregnant, and she came in and she's like, hey, good news, I'm pregnant, and everybody's like, oh, that's fantastic. It's a miniature, extremely large family, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
And, you know, I've heard stories of, you know, you guys have been around each other for the last 6 months. This guy's homeless and, or he doesn't have a job. And because of the networking aspect of the fireside powwow, right? People are getting jobs. So it's not just guys and gals are going there and just opening up and the floodgates and woe is me. It's a full family function.
You know, we actually had a topic yesterday on success, and I loved that topic. And I sat back and I actually listened more than I talked yesterday. Mm-hmm. And I sat there and I was thinking in my head, wow, in the success. And a lot of times, a lot of people don't think about their own success, you know. And one guy stood up and he smiled and he said, look at me. This is success. And he's lost 15% of his body fat.
Nice.
Before he came to MVP, he did not work out. He had no confidence in himself. Yeah. Nothing. He was literally like, you go to talk to him and it was like talking to a wall. Yeah. And I'll say just like that. I love the guy, but now I can't shut him up. Now I can't keep him quiet. Now all he wants to do is talk. And I'm like, stop talking for 5 minutes. You know, so now his personality is getting out there. Now his identity is getting out there. And since he's actually started MVP, now he's gone on Shark Tank.
Yeah.
Now he's actually got a scholarship for art.
Nice.
Now he's actually getting, you know, he does these comics that tell a story about what happened overseas, and he makes it into a comic, and you hand it to your family members so that way they can understand it in a funny way, you know, and tell your story basically about how you want to tell your story, but you can't tell your story personally to your family. Yeah. So that's kind of what he's doing, and now he's actually pursuing that. And, you know, yesterday he spoke about that MVP's, you know, made him feel like that's what he wants to do.
Yeah, that he's
so
capable.
It's exciting seeing these guys change, especially watching everybody change. I'm excited for the change that I've seen in myself.
Yeah. So that's a good segue, right? Because I've seen you mention, and I've heard you say that you're thankful for the program, MVP, right? You're thankful for the program being here for you specifically, right? But from the outside looking in, we see you as the spokesperson, because essentially that's what you are. You're MVP.
Yeah.
Knowing that you obviously have others in mind while promoting MVP, can you talk about what MVP has done for you and what you're doing for MVP?
Oh, and what MVP's done for me, it's honestly, you know, my family, my blood family, they live in Texas. So I live in LA. I haven't seen my family for 3 years now, I believe. I believe it's been 3 years. So, I mean, what MVP's honestly given me is a family all over again, where I can actually trust somebody. You know, I can trust somebody with anything that I want to, basically, bottom line. And I think that's the biggest thing that MVP has done for me. So for what I am doing for MVP, you name it, I'm doing it. So right now I'm making sure that the Las Vegas location is running smoothly. I'm making sure that the Los Angeles one is making sure that there's veterans that do come in. Yeah. I think that's the biggest one is reaching out to veterans to let them know about the program. Tell them about the program, because I believe there's 250,000 veterans that are in Los Angeles County or something like that. So that's a lot of veterans. And, there's been, since December, we've had 172 veterans that have came in. And that's just the veterans, not the professional athletes as well.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of veterans that have came in. However, that's not all of Los Angeles. So I reach out a lot, and I try to get people to know about MVP.
Yeah. So who are you outside of MVP?
Who am I outside of MVP? I'm pretty much the same exact guy that I am inside of MVP. Like I said earlier, is I do everything full blown. That's kind of my personality, is I'm going to go and do everything that's the top of my ability.
Yeah.
So, I'm a family guy on top of that. I have a family. I have my girlfriend. I have my stepson, and I'm living my life. We have, for instance, one room that's almost strictly for a veteran that we have in the home. Mm-hmm. So if there's a veteran that needs housing or anything like that, the rent's a little expensive, but at the same time, if you want a new beginning, I'm going to help you out. Mm-hmm. And we're going to see what we can do, So the last 2 roommates that we've had veterans inside that room.
Good.
And that's been kind of the designated veteran room, if that makes sense. Yeah,
it does.
So I try to bring everybody into my family. If there's something that maybe I may not like about you, I'm going to find something good in you. And that's the type of person that I am, inside or outside of MVP, no matter what. I would say that I do a lot with my family, though. And I do work, to provide for my family. I do help them out more than, sometimes I'll take care of my girlfriend and my stepson before words can even explain. They're my top priority at the end of the day.
Man. So, your story is incredible, man. I tell you, I can sit here. It really, you guys were having the talk about success yesterday, and it really is one thing to hear somebody talk about success, and then there's one thing to live it. And you mentioned being humble earlier. And it sounds like when it comes to success and when it comes to MVP, that you're a humble person. I even put something on social media earlier saying, I'm talking to the face of MVP, or the most well-known face of MVP, and you even broke it down. It's like, maybe not the most well-known, but to you, what does it mean to be humble would be the first question. And then, yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, being surrounded by the people that I am, having the mentors that I do have now, Jay Glazer and Nate Boyer have been just a family to me. They've become like father figures to me. Jay Glazer, he looks at me, he's the founder of the program along with Nate. And having them guide me and them being so successful in what they've done, and then now me never doing a nonprofit, never doing any of this, but at the same time having them come and say, hey, you're doing everything the way you need to do it. I'm proud of you. And having somebody in that caliber tell me that they're proud of me, it's extremely, I don't want to mess this up. And at the same time, being humble is going to be the way that I don't mess it up. Mm-hmm. Being able to sit there and, protect the gym the way that they would protect the gym, for instance. Making sure that, the veterans are taking care of the gym the way that the members of the gym would take care of the gym. Yeah. Making sure that the veterans that are in there need it. I think that's the best way of describing it is, a year and a half ago I was a nobody, and now I feel like I can be somebody. Yeah. And having able to sit down with some of the people that I've been able to sit down with in the last year and a half, that to me, having Nate Boyer and Jay Glazer have faith in me is extremely humbling for myself. I've had my parents always believe in myself, and I think that's what's been the hard part is they're so far away now that I've been trying to seek that attention, I guess, if that's the right word for it.
Yeah.
Is I've been trying to seek somebody else validating what I'm worth.
Yeah.
Because I know what I'm worth, but at the same time, I need to have somebody else believe that I'm worth it.
Yeah.
Of course, the girlfriend is going to believe in me whenever, always. You know, she's the family. But having somebody look in from the outside and say, "I believe in you.
Yeah.
You're doing a damn good job."
Yeah.
That to me is rewarding at the end of the day, and that's what I love about MVP is we're all sitting down and we're all just, "I believe in you."
Yeah.
And it's not just me that I believe in it. It's the guy to the right or to the left of me, or the woman that's right to the left of me, that I believe in at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Is everybody that does come into MVP, I believe in them.
Yeah.
And I want to honestly get them, the way that I feel. And that's kind of what I got this one guy in Pasadena that I'm really trying to get for the last 2 months, I'd say, to come into MVP. And I told him finally yesterday, I said, "Look, I just want you to feel what I feel." And I think that's the best way of saying it.
Yeah.
Is I want you to feel that family once again. Because he said it straight up to me. I was going to come today, but I decided to isolate myself instead.
Mm-hmm.
So there's still those veterans that are out there that are still doing what I like to do, isolate.
And the best thing about it is you're in the role where you can empathize, right? And say, man,
Mm-hmm.
I've been there. I've been in the position where I don't want to talk to vets. I've been, sitting in my car just wondering why the hell am I here? Like, that's your strength. Your strength are your past weaknesses. And, that's the beautiful thing about growing up and having life experiences. So, what now? What is your mission? Where do you see yourself going? Like, you've already helped facilitate the growth of MVP by expanding to Vegas, right? Because that's what, like 3 months new. Where do you see yourself? What is your mission? And maybe it's not with MVP, but what is Denver's mission?
My mission right now is to keep doing this right now. At this point, there's actually one thing that I do. I set 2 goals each day. And 2 goals for me each day is getting out of bed and taking a shower.
Nice.
If I can do those 2 goals, then I can do anything. It sounds stupid, but at the same time, if I lay in bed all day and I don't take a shower, what am I going to be good for this world? If I don't get up and go to MVP once a week, what am I going to be showing to the other veterans? So what I see myself doing right now is doing this. I know MVP is going to be expanding to San Diego real soon.
Oh, nice.
Like real soon.
Nice.
So we're really excited about that, and we're just going to continue expanding.
Will it be only vets, or can active duty go?
Active duty, we actually encourage active duty to be there.
Okay. That's going to be huge, man. That's San Diego.
Yeah. No, and definitely. So that's a huge thing that we do encourage is active duty, just so that way they can get used to having these programs on the outside.
Yeah.
Having something to go to. And that's honestly, that's why I love that MVP is once a week. There's going to be more activities that MVP is going to be doing. We have a hike that's coming up in San Diego on July 15th.
Yeah.
So we're definitely excited about that one. We're guessing about 250 to 300 people that are going to be going to that.
Nice.
Which is huge.
Yeah.
So, where I see myself, though, is, I'm very loyal to MVP. I'm very loyal to Nate and Jay, and I'm very humble for what they've given me the opportunity for. This is exciting for me. So, like I've been telling people, how anybody could honestly help out MVP is donations. Donations are the biggest thing right now. So that way we can expand. That way we can get more veterans hired. We can get that team that we need going.
Mm-hmm.
And right now I got one guy, AJ, that's been helping me out like crazy. And, and then we got Noel that's out in Vegas and Isaac in Vegas. And, it's funny. I got to honestly say this. I have not seen my guys from my unit, except for one other guy, since 2009. Now, since we've started this organization, I've seen about 15 to 20 of them just in the Las Vegas and the Los Angeles area. Which that's my goal. That's my personal goal, is to get this program to where my unit is.
Yeah.
So that way now I can see at least everybody from my unit at least once.
Yeah.
And that's honestly my goal.
Nice. So, man, one thing, where can we donate?
You can go to vetsandplayers.org. Click on the little red tab that's on there, and you can just go ahead and donate on there. So that, or you can also send a check in. I don't have the address with me. Oh, I do have the address with me. Did you want me to say the address, or
I can?
Kind of long,
I'll put it on. I'll put it on the show notes. So just shoot it to me in a text. I'll put it in the show notes.
Okay. So I mean, that's the biggest thing right now to be able to expand is getting veterans hired in each location. That's a huge one that we're looking at, is being able to get veterans hired, get the professional athletes. I'm not going to just say veterans because it is the professional athletes as well.
Yeah.
And that's a huge part that we do need, is the professional athletes.
Yeah. And from
a lot
any
of the
sport,
times,
or are we?
I don't know.
Talking
what's that?
From any sport, or are we talking?
Just showing proof that you are a professional athlete.
Gotcha.
So we've had boxers in there. We've had UFC. We've had baseball. We've had football. We've had basketball. We've had CrossFit, for goodness sakes.
Yeah.
So just showing that proof that you really are that professional athlete. We've also had those. I do apologize to the college people. We understand that they've done it for so long, and then at the same time we're focusing on the professional athletes.
Yeah.
So,
well, the mindset, if you are a professional athlete listening, the mindset, and for anybody listening really, is that you're going through this whole process, and then when you retire or you're kicked out from the league, your whole life revolved around this one sport, whether it be tennis, badminton, swimming, whatever. Your whole life revolved around that. At one time, you were paid a lot of money to do that one thing, and then one day you're not. And so there's a deep, dark, downward spiral for professional athletes that the layman, the Gen Pop, doesn't understand. So,
well, have you heard of Ryan Leaf at all?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so Ryan Leaf is actually a member of ours that comes once a week.
Okay.
So Ryan Leaf, for anybody that doesn't know who Ryan Leaf is, he's the most amazing, biggest bust in the NFL. So he went through his struggle getting out, and he played 3 years in the NFL. He was supposed to either be the first or second round draft pick in the 96 draft, right behind Peyton Manning. So he was in the draft with Peyton Manning, and they did not know who was going to go number one. And so Ryan Leaf actually got drafted number 2. Peyton Manning got drafted number 1. So Ryan Leaf went and played for the San Diego Chargers. Ryan says his story a lot better than I'm going to say it, of course, but he went into the NFL and he just was cocky. He said that he went into the NFL and he was a douchebag, he said, was trying to demand everybody around, trying to tell everybody what to do. And then he got injured, and next thing you know, he got addicted to painkillers.
Yep.
And he got booted out of the NFL. He only played 3 seasons in the NFL. And, he says that he struggled. He did not find his identity after that because he thought the NFL, he said that he had all this money. He had a great amount of money, but at the same time, he wasn't happy. So he would actually go in and acting like he was buying a house. And he would actually go in and take all the painkillers out of the cabinets. And next thing you know, he ended up doing 36 months in prison.
Mm-hmm.
So, he struggled. And now, it's funny because now, I hit him up actually. So he actually said it yesterday, he joined MVP September 30th, and that was the first time that he walked into Unbreakable Performance, where we work out. And now he's huge with MVP, and if he's not there, I feel like something's wrong. I got to hit him up, because he's there. And yesterday he said it flat out that MVP is, it's home. If he's not there, he feels like he's missing something during the week. He needs to be there. And he said it straight up. He needs to be there. Like, he needs to be surrounded by us, because there's times that he walks in there and he's angry. He's mad, but he has no idea why he's mad. Yeah. And then he just hears some of the stories that are happening, or hears everybody talking, and next thing you know, he gets up and he walks out and he's in a good mood again. Yeah. And this guy is now, since he's gone to MVP, now he's about to get married. He has a kid on the way. He's lost about 45 pounds, I would say. Oh, wow. That's my guess. That's my guess, at least, because he looks healthy. Yeah. To me, he looks like he could go back into the NFL. Yeah. So where he was when he first came in, he was angry. He was mad. And now he's smiling. Now he's like, "What's up, guys?" Giving hugs. So seeing the change in him, even. Yeah. That makes me happy. Now he's clean and sober. He's working for a recovery organization, Transcend Recovery. So now he's doing great things, and just seeing the change in him is just, it's unbelievable, the change that I have seen in him. So that's one person that it's funny when I was talking about me playing football growing up, it was funny because my dad would actually say, "Hey, you know how Ryan Leaf throws the football?" Because I think that's right when I first really started enjoying football. So, or playing football, was when he got drafted. And my dad would say, "You know how Ryan Leaf throws the football?" And it was funny because one day I remembered that comment from my dad, and I called up Ryan and I was like, "Dude, I just got to say this to you." And I told him that, and he just started cracking up laughing. And him going from, during football season, I actually called him up and I said, "Hey, you have any hookups for the San Diego Chargers?" He's like, "Man, I don't deal with anything for the NFL anymore." Mm-hmm. And now, from what MVP's done, he's actually gained that trust back from the NFL, and now he's actually helping out with the NFL all over again. Now he's a part of it. And when he felt ashamed of what he did, now he's taking his strength, and now he's trying to give back to it.
Oh, man, that's great.
So
that's great. That's phenomenal.
So, yeah, no, it definitely is. So I just wanted to really share that story on what one of the professional athletes has felt from this. Yeah. And he's probably been the biggest change from the professional athletes. So it's kind of fun watching it.
Well, shout out to Ryan.
Right.
Congrats, man.
I know.
Yeah, because that was huge. That was in the media spotlight. He's on like top 10 countdown still. Yeah, man.
Yeah, so this is all
a lot of us remember it.
What MVP's honestly done. It's gained his confidence back in himself, and that's, he said it yesterday. He thought that when he came into MVP, last September, he thought he was perfectly fine. He said it just like that. Yeah. He said, "I thought I was perfectly good with how I was living my life. Little did I know that I needed that little pick-me-up, because there's more that I can do. There's more potential out there." And that's where he's heading right now. Is he's not just settling where he's at. He's now looking at the bigger picture, now looking at his future. Now, so now he's empowering himself. And I think that's the huge part about what MVP is doing right now, is we're trying to empower everybody, seeing what their potential is at the end of the day.
Yeah. So, it's funny because at the beginning of the conversation, you started off with, early Denver, 17 years old. You said, as a kid, I didn't need anyone, right? And then throughout this whole process, you didn't need anybody. And now you're in this whole position where you're like, I need all of you. I need all of you. I need this. I need to be around you because, not needing anyone was doing me, it was not doing me justice. And so with that mindset, like, what would you tell vets who are struggling to find themselves today?
You can't do it alone.
Yeah.
You can't. It's to me, at least, it's impossible. Especially somebody that is struggling. It's impossible. You need somebody. At the end of the day, you need to be surrounded by somebody. Mm-hmm. Just like I said, setting 2 goals throughout the day. If I don't set those 2 goals, I can't be anything, So I set those 2 goals, and then I sit there and I jump up and I say, hey, what do I got to get done? Who do I need to reach out to today? So you need somebody in your life. You need to be able to talk about and feel comfortable. I think that's a big word too, is feeling comfortable with talking to somebody, letting it off your chest. I've had a lot of people come up to me and say, thank you for sharing because I've felt that way. Yeah. And I look at them, I'm like, I'm still trying to figure out the words to say back to somebody for that. I'm still trying to figure out I can share my story all I want. I'm just trying to still figure out the words to say back to somebody when they say, yeah, I have felt that way. And I want to say like, thanks, or you're welcome, or, so I think the words that I say is, well, why don't you come into MVP and we'll see what we can do. There you go. So there you go. I'm still trying to find the perfect words to say back to somebody, so. I always go, yeah, man, no, that's what I do. 'Cause I get it. It's awkward. You're welcome. Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. So if you could tell Recruit Morris one thing to prep for today, what would that be? Oh man. If I could tell Recruit Morris? Yeah. Hold on tight. It's gonna be a roller coaster.
So
that's literally all I can say.
Are there any other topics that you want to hit on, or any other plugs you want to make?
Man, I just, if a veteran is struggling, even with addiction, with anything, there is Transcend Recovery. There is all of us veterans that, there's some that are struggling. There's some that are not. There are veterans that are just, somebody's going to relate with you some way, somehow. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be the best part about it is you don't got to be the best shape to come and work out. The trainers there are gold medalists. They know what they're doing. They're going to guide you in the right direction. I'm not in the best shape whatsoever. So it's more of just come on, hang out, spend some time with us. Just come and kick it with us.
Yeah, and they're fun workouts. For anybody who hasn't been there, they're like, just imagine half of that time is a circuit course, right? And you're in the exercise for about a minute tops, and then the other half is bag work or floor work with the MMA professionals. So they're sitting there teaching you combos or you're doing wrestling. So it's halftime you're doing intense sweat stuff, and then halftime you're over there, with gloves on and, doing that stuff. And it's so fun because nobody in there is, let me not say that. Everybody in there is equal, right? Nobody's got the upper hand on you. So, and everybody in there is super respectful of disabilities, of abilities. So, yeah.
I think that's you brought up a good point. I think that's the best part about it is I personally, I got a gym membership myself, and I hate going to the gym myself.
Yeah.
But I hate it. Why? Because I feel like everybody's just staring at me. And I can't stand it. I cannot. That's one of my pet peeves is people staring at me. But even though they're not staring at me, I feel like they are staring at me.
Yeah.
Or if I get on the wrong machine or something like that, because this big bodybuilder is like using the machine, now I feel like I can't use that machine.
It's tainted.
You know, so it's spoken for. You know, so it gets uncomfortable at the normal gym, but this gym is kind of like we're just having fun. You can even half-ass the workouts, you know. But at the same time, we're all going to help you out no matter what. And that's what MVP is about, is helping you through a workout. Not, you know, we're going to help you out like you were back in the military. We always did these activities in the military that we're going to empower each person. And I got to give the shout out to the military for that is, you know, we always did team building exercises. And that's really what we're doing with MVP is we do team building exercises at the end of the day, and we're working out all together. We're all learning all over again together. You know, there's not one person that's bigger or better than you inside where we're at. You know, we're all equal, just like you said, and I love that word that you just said, by the way.
So Denver, again, thank you so much for coming on, man. Like, beyond my expectation of how genuine and awesome the time is going to be. You've exceeded that, and thank you so much for all this.
I definitely appreciate you having me on, man.
Oh,
definitely.
Yeah, the honor is mine. So, as we wrap up, I want to let you know to show up to Unbreakable on Thursdays at 2, correct?
Or Extreme Couture in Vegas.
Or Extreme Couture. That's Randy's gym?
Yeah, that's Randy Couture's gym.
Is it still at Thursday at 2 over there as well?
Same exact time.
Okay. And follow the Merging Vets and Players Facebook page, because they do put a lot of extra stuff outside the gym, like going on hikes or beach barbecues. And I want to let you know that, you know, throughout this conversation, you can hear that you don't need to be a professional to be a healer, right? You just need to be present. So, and in Denver, you've done a phenomenal job doing what you're doing, getting these guys in, and you know, changing people's lives just by being friendly and inviting them into a place of just welcome. So, for those of you who stuck around, thanks for listening to You're a Vet for one more week, and please pass this on. Please donate to MVP by going to vetsandplayers.org. I'll put all of the information on the show notes, and tune in next week. Bye.
Cool.